How are things going for everyone? Hello, Sam. Today we hear that more people are buying Bitcoin, that more people are getting the chance to buy Bitcoin, and that some people like you and me are stacking. I want to talk about that and CleanSpark's new gains. Please click subscribe if you don't mind. Make sure the bell icon below the video is turned on so you can see more movies like this one as soon as I make them. There will also be links at the bottom of the movie if you want to try Margex, a platform where you can trade cryptocurrency with borrowed money. You can sign up for it. There's no Know Your Customer. It's free, and you can trade all sorts of things here without a VPN. If you want to use low leverage, you can do something a little less risky. If you want to scalp trade, you can use high leverage. I also have some videos on my channel that talk about Margex and how to use it. You can search for those videos or just search for leverage trading in general. On the channel, there are some different plans. There is also a link to Coino at the bottom of the page if you want to buy cryptocurrency right away or trade it with another person. You can buy Bitcoin and get your money back on Coino. There's no Know Your Customer. People can find out about you even if you don't want them to. For example, if you don't want the government to know who you are, or if your website gets hacked or something, the information will get out. You can use Coino if you don't want people to know how much Bitcoin or Ethereum you bought. Us.Thanks is a market worth $12 trillion. Now, European market officials are thinking about adding Bitcoin to the list of assets that can be used in this market. Kits are twice as big as US ETFs, or they can reach twice as many people. So far, $50 billion has been put into Bitcoin ETFs in the US. I really haven't talked about this before. I haven't heard of Us.Thanks before. I did some study on elliott and found that they are the undertakings for the collective investment in transferable securities. It's the rules that the European Commission sets for running and selling joint funds. You can open an account and sell elliott funds in any country. The European Union uses unified rules for regulation and investor safety. In this way, elliott are like mutual funds in the US. Their registration is in an EU country, and the rules that apply to them are set by that EU member state. In other words, this just lets a lot of people start buying these funds if they get cleared. We've talked about that even in the US, where they are valid. Some brokerages let you buy them. But a lot of compliance offices still haven't passed the ETFs. Their thoughts on it are just now. That being said, this could make it possible for trillions of dollars to enter or leave Bitcoin. This kind of news will keep coming out, showing that more and more big markets can access Bitcoin, or just big markets in general. Okay then, even if we don't get huge amounts of money coming in, just 1% of all these different markets will do it, and the price will go up a lot. Some people might be wondering why the price hasn't gone up a lot lately. We all know that the ETFs have sold some Bitcoin, not in the last few days. However, the ETFs have been moving in a straight line for the past few weeks and months. Another thing is that the months after the halving are generally pretty dull. Before the halves, we were at an all-time high. We're now just kind of going in a straight line. We can also see that some money or Bitcoin is going to the over-the-counter OTC markets. There's no lack of Bitcoin on the over-the-counter OTC desk. There are about 255,000 of them. From 60,000 to 200,000, you can see it go up. It starts around 70,000 to 80,000 and stays that way. That's why it was pretty low. Remember that 2,500 Bitcoin sounds like a lot of money. That's a lot. Okay then, we can get through that pretty quickly though. Based on what I can remember, that's about $13 billion worth of Bitcoin. This means that a big company wants to buy a lot of it. They can quickly spend 2,500 Bitcoin. Yes. If we can make 100,000 Bitcoins more valuable in a month, we can also make that many less valuable in a month, especially if there is a supply shock coming. A lot of groups will want to buy. We also have news about the $400 billion insurance company MassMutual, which says it owns Bitcoin through the Grayscale ETF. On top of that, MassMutual bought Bitcoin worth $100 million for its books in 2021. I actually found that message from December 2021. They bought $100 million worth of Bitcoin as a general investment. NYDIG facilitated the deal. This is what I forgot. You should know that this is a very big deal for a company like this, $100 million bucks. A lot more businesses will also want to add it to their balance sheets. And there are small holders who still want to buy. For everyone who only hears about people with millions of dollars in Bitcoin, I thought this was pretty cool. When you get to 0.1 Bitcoin, 0.5 Bitcoin, 0.51 Bitcoin, you should have a party. Someone on Reddit says, "No one in my life knows I'm investing in Bitcoin. I feel like sharing it here because it makes me happy." I know it's not nearly as much as most people here, but I live in a bad country where the average pay is $800. For the past 4 years, it hasn't been easy to DCA every month. It took a lot of effort and working late into the night and on the weekends. In 2021 and 2022, I DCA'd all the way from 69 to 15. My money was lost when I tried to buy and trade alts. I was lucky that the bear market had just begun. I had some time to get better. I learned my lesson though. I chose final DCA because of this 20% drop. That being said, I'm proud to say that I now have a quarter of a Bitcoin in my hardware wallet. That's really cool. With that in mind, I'm going to make a movie this weekend about how much it takes to retire in 10, 20, or even 50 years. We always look at the end of the decade. We think about the next 10 years. But what about 20 years from now? How much Bitcoin would it take to retire? Keep an eye out for that film. But I wanted to explain this because I think it's cool. Now let's move on to CleanSpark's earnings report for the third quarter. Just so you know, the stock is up a few percent. Part of the reason for that is that people have high hopes for CleanSpark because they have been killing it. It's clear that they've been killing it. The price of stocks has been going up too, right? Nearly 55% more than yesterday. But it's up 300% in the last year. In other words, they have high hopes. Still, they reached some important goals. It brought in about $112 million, and they had about $127 million in that cash. $182 million is just the right amount. Yes, they have been growing like crazy. Their hash rate right now is more than 17 times per second. Yes, they did have a great quarter, so then I'm clear I need to find out more about this or look into it even more. But it looks pretty good at first glance. $323 million in cash and $358 million in Bitcoin. There's about $700 million in current assets. They don't owe much money. There is debt worth $12.8 million. To be clear, they have been growing, and it's not just because of money coming in and out. The one thing I know about these Bitcoin miners is CleanSpark. I'm sure there are other Bitcoin miners as well, but I haven't looked into them as much lately. A lot of owners' money is lost. Back in the first quarter of 2023, they had 80 million shares out there. Now, from what I can see, they have around 225 million. They now have 15% more shares than they did before. They haven't got much debt because they've paid it off quickly. They aren't getting loans. They're just giving out more shares. That's great. They had a great quarter. But remember that you need to pay attention to that because they are taking away a lot of shareholder wealth. So yeah, let's say they're making $112 million this quarter. Or let's say they made $127 million in net income this quarter. You will make less per share next quarter if they keep diluting. We feel a little bad about that, but they still need to grow and are working hard to make this accretive. I think they did a good job of making sure what they were doing was worth it. So once they reach a certain size, they can get tools for less money.